So we got another Sandbox blog post for this week. Obviously, in terms of this format, I want to see if I can experiment a little bit more with it because it does provide a quicker way to get all this information directly to you. This week is a very exciting week because it's part of one of my favorite times within the Sandbox blog post, which is, of course, the Hack Weeks. Now, if you don't know what Hack Week is, it mentions here in the introduction by Garry Newman himself, every few months at Facepunch, we have a Hack Week. This is a time for people to experiment, to chase the ideas and whims that they have felt are too much of a distraction during the normal working time. Programmers become artists, artists become programmers, and some people just stay who they are, but they work on something else for a week. So this is really cool because this allows Facepunch and many of the people who are working on the game to experiment and be able to provide something completely different to the table than normally as what they would be working on. Now, I do have to say for this first one, this one's a little bit more technical and nerdy, and in some ways, I'm still learning the Sandbox scene system myself as well for the sake of videos and, of course, of describing certain things. But this was very interesting because it seems like something that Garry wanted to do for quite a little bit was experimenting more with this line rendering system that he has, which looks really dope, honestly. It's very cool as a concept, and I like the idea of it. But for me, I have to definitely get a bit more into it because this is something that is very, very much like in-depth and nerdy for me that I'd have to sit down and learn more about. So next we have Hivemind, which has been made by Taylor. This is really awesome as it is now nice to see that we're getting some cool concepts early on. It has been a year since obviously Taylor had made a game in Sandbox, and Taylor had been itching to make another prototype game, especially with all the massive changes that have happened to Sandbox's now scene system. The entire point, as you can see on screen with this gameplay, what if multiple people controlled a single character? Hopefully a rage-inducing yet fun and cooperative puzzle game. Now, this is very interesting because it seems like this is a pattern I've noticed. There's so many games that Facepunch makes, and majority of the games that they do make are somewhat rage-inducing. So I don't know what that's all about, but that seems to be a primary theme. Next up, we have this audio system that Garry has been working on, and in short, the current audio system within the Source 2 engine is called vMix. And he's been trying to find a way to kind of mess around and take control of it for over a year now. He wanted to provide basically anyone the opportunity to have their own mixers within the Sandbox editor, which is really cool. But the only issue is that vMix itself is very much, as he's described, it's huge, complicated, and unwieldy. He took out the time to properly work on this and got a lot of success from it. So he was able to get and make a audio system framework within C# to allow there to be more control over this, which is really cool. And it only took him a total of 2 days to work on it. So I think that's really awesome because now they have a customizable sort of audio system within Sandbox, which is really dope. Next up, we have something that is absolutely exciting for many of the creative people like myself that have worked on SFM. And this is called Timeline, which has been made by Laylad. So Laylad mentions, our goal is to eventually replace Source Filmmaker, and the core of that is just animating properties with keyframes. So that was my goal this week, and you could just click on an object and edit curves for any property it has. Instead of it being a separate tool, it's handled directly in the scene editor, as this makes the most sense to me because you could either use it for in-game cutscenes, or you could record it out like you would in SFM. Because it's a component, the keyframed curves can easily be saved and loaded and playback controlled from in the game. Now, I do want to mention a couple things here because this might be the one I may talk about the most in here. This is exciting because, for one, having features like this is what they had talked about long ago about fully trying to create their own sort of SFM within the Sandbox editor. And not only that, the Source 2 Filmmaker was a separate thing. This was something that was very interesting because, one, this kind of takes it further by allowing you to create a in-game cutscene for your game so that you're able to kind of utilize it a bit more, and not only just use it for in-game cutscenes, but also be able to do so for the sake of, well, recording animations and doing things like you would in SFM. Another thing that's really awesome is it's a component. So in terms of the scene system, there's many things you can do, including add components in the scene system, and this so happens to be one of them, which is really really awesome. Next up, we have Septic Sprawl. Now, this is another game made by Howie. Septic Sprawl is a co-op shooter where players are tasked with cleaning up a map covered in toxic sewage and giant bacterial monsters. Think of it as a mix between Left 4 Dead, Power Wash Simulator, and Splatoon. Now, in terms of the gameplay that's being shown, this is very interesting as a concept because, for one, this is a person who mostly does not code. When you're seeing the gameplay, you're seeing that this is as easy as it is to create a nice concept for a game for a person who has zero experience within coding. Now, this one is a very interesting one, and it's platform porting macOS. Now, I know a ton of people are probably going to be yelling and screaming saying they never mentioned that they were going to ever do anything like this. Well, let's just get into this blog post because there's a little bit more information, and I think people should probably hold their rage a bit more because logically it makes more sense as to why they would try this out, but let's get into that. Sam mentions that we're likely to expand our platform support in the future. It just really isn't a priority right now. He recently got an M3 Max MacBook, and it's so fast compared to what everyone else is offering. So Sam wanted to take the opportunity, and of course for this hack week, to try to get S&box on it and take advantage of Apple Silicon for development on S&box. He doesn't think on the current tide that there's enough to justify officially supporting the platform, as in terms of users, there really isn't many there. And if anything would ever go public, he just put a big fat sign to say, never report bugs on it since it's an unsupported platform. Now, this one is really cool. I just have to say, Tony Ferguson, whoever else worked on this, all you guys worked on this one. This was really, really sick. And I want to talk about it right now. This is Opium. Opium is one of the first proper it looks like a properly fully fledged utilizing the scene system. So Opium is a PSX style love letter to the gritty melee focused brawlers of the 2000s, namely the Condemned series. It combines a first person rock paper scissors combat system with light puzzle elements and a weapon scavenging loop, forcing the player to pull pipes from walls and reuse damaged equipment dropped by enemies. Some of us banded together to try to make a small game using the scene system within the span of a couple of weeks. The main goal being to show how easy it is to make games now utilizing the scene system. Now, I have to say, from the gameplay and everything else provided, I cannot wait to play this because I do want to cover it. I think this is something that's very interesting. It looks like so much fun. And at the same time, this kind of shows off the chops of what FacePunch has been wanting to utilize to show you what you can possibly do. And this looks awesome. So I know someone mentioned, as they asked Tony, thank you, Carson, that when it comes to this game, it should be coming out sometime within the next week or so. So you may see a video of me covering this game at some point, which is going to be really fun. Last part of the blog post, and this is in summary by Garry Newman. This is our first real hack week since the inception of the scene system. So it's been quite interesting to see it getting used. It's amazing to see that Taylor and Howie can quite intuitively put a prototype together now as non-programmers. It's even more impressive that they managed to make them multiplayer too. But the real winners here have got to be Team Opium, who I think stunned everyone with their reveal yesterday. They've done an amazing job showing us that the scene system can be used to make stuff that isn't a skybox with floating solid blocks. It has been impressive to see them make this in such a relatively short amount of time, and I'm excited to see what they do next. Otherwise, we still haven't gotten any information about keys, so we're waiting for the keys. I know everyone's waiting for the keys, but otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Once more, again, the blog post will be linked in the description down below with more info and details if you'd like to read up on that. Feel free to enjoy the video that is provided on screen somewhere around here, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.